Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Bouncing Back with Brighton. In today's episode we are going to play through the entirety of the January transfer window. Now if you remember, we do have a massive amount of transfer funds available should we able to find the players that I actually want to bring in. But in terms of the games that we've got in January, you won't see any of them live, but there's some massive games in there. Leicester, League Cup semi, both legs will both be played in today's episode. We've then got games against Oxford, Everton, Brentford, Wigan and Sheffield Wednesday in between. But of course, we've got some fixtures to review since the last time we met. There's only two fixtures since the last time we met against Birmingham. The first of which was a 2-0 home win against recently relegated Huddersfield. Ben Woodburn gave us the lead in the 49th minute and John Souttar gave us the second in the 57th. We're starting to play a little bit better, as you'll see in the next game. We then absolutely trounced Swansea City 5-0 away from home. Anthony Knottyard got himself a double. Jan Mulleclar got himself one on the 65th minute. Alexis McAllister came on for an injured Jack Grealish at half-time and played very well. So I think this guy might be definitely staking a claim for a first-team spot after he definitely had a troubled start at the beginning of the season. And all of that sees us extend our lead at the top of the league to 15 points. Stoke City have actually overtaken Southampton in second place, so we're 16 points clear from Southampton in third. Again, we're doing fantastically well. We're well over half of the season gone now, and 15 points clear of the next best placed team. It's sort of a foregone conclusion that we're going to win this league, barring an absolute major collapse on our behalf, which I don't think we'll do. So as the January transfer window opens, there is some stuff that is happening. Liverpool identify Butland as a target. They're expecting to get him for $14.5 million. They've got no chance of that, but he does have a relegation release clause of 15.25, so could quite easily be activated this January transfer window. I would really like to keep him. I am going to actually offer him a new... Let's do it now. We'll offer him a new deal, see if he will stay, finish in the top half of the Premier League. That is a long-term aim for me as well, mate. Let's negotiate a contract. I really want this removed. He's on 43 grand a week, 47 grand a week already. So if we can get him on something like this, 55 grand a week, he will get a 50%. Try not that down, 30%. If we can get that down to 30%, I'll be really happy. So 55 grand a week. His wages will go up should we be promoted, but he's got a 4-year deal now rather than a 5-year deal, rather than a 3. And we've removed that pesky minimum fee release clause. Now, whether that might activate the AI into making a bid for him now that we've offered a contract, quite possibly, but it's a risk I'm willing to take. I really want to keep Jack Butland. I really want to keep the English players that I've currently got in the side. Dejan Joveljic finally confirmed he's finally going to be a Brighton player. We signed him a good couple of months ago. He is coming in to be our first choice striker. He will be leading the line for us in the Championship and very likely leading into the Premier League. We've all seen how this guy develops. He can turn absolutely fantastic. He was great for my West Ham side, so I'm glad to have him back. In terms of players I'm looking to bring in during this transfer window, there's only one that I've definitely got my eye on, which is Josh Tyman. He's a young English left back. I think having him and Bogle as our left and right back would see us covered for a good few years to come. I think they'll develop into players that are more than good enough to play in the top half of the Premier League, and obviously being English is always a major benefit. I've made an offer of 20 million, which will be rejected. Unfortunately, the one in 27.5. I am looking to potentially unsettle him and maybe get him for a bit cheaper, but I think his favourite team is Stoke City. It's not actually. You never know. We might be able to unsettle him and get him for a bit cheaper, but we do have a lot of money. We've got £88.8 million. If we have to spend 25 million on bringing on a young English left back, I think it's something I'm prepared to do. In terms of other positions where I would really like to improve but don't necessarily have the candidate down just yet, centre back, Cabasas has done incredibly well for us this season, better than John Souttar actually, but he is a little bit more limited in terms of his potential. So if we could get a British or just a really high potential centre back, well, actually, this is the guy we're going to go for. We're going to make an offer right now. I made an offer for him in the summer transfer window, but he rejected me because I wasn't playing Champions League football, which is no surprise. Maybe he might have changed his mind now, saying how well we've played. It's Zeno van Houston. I think we agreed like a £15 million deal to bring him in the summer. He's got 4.5-star potential. He's a 3.5-star player for us, I do believe. So I think with him and Sutar in the first 11 would see us laughing all the way to the bank. So I've made an offer of 5 million. They're asking for 20. So the compromise is 12.5. So we are actually going to go 5 million up front, 5 million over 3 years. Even though we can afford to pay it, I still look to pay a little bit over time. So if I paid it all up front, I probably could get it for 12.5. We'll see if they'll give us it like this. Quite one. So I'll tell you what, we'll just go all in. We'll go all in. We'll give them 12.5 up front, and let's see if they'll accept that offer. They've made enough. I think they will accept that offer. So if we could get him and Josh Timon in this transfer window, and potentially maybe look at a central midfielder. I think Scott McTominay has come out and been the best central midfielder that we've got, which isn't ideal considering he's a loan player. So if we can find somebody who is a clear upgrade on the players that we've currently got at the club, that's definitely another area where I would look to strengthen. And right midfield, another area. I would like to sign Reece Nelson, honestly, but it's just impossible. I don't want to loan him. I feel like it would be a waste. If he's on loan, I sort of half won't want to play him to develop him for Arsenal. I would like to sign him on a permanent deal, but it's highly unlikely to happen at this stage. Ruben Loftus-Cheek's actually available for 38.5 million. No, that's too much. So as you can probably tell, I have a lot of ideas going forward to this January transfer window. How many of them pan out, I don't really know. So we're going to quickly get to the game against Oxford, which is today, 1st of January. Everton in the FA Cup third round after that. The 2 games against Leicester split between Brentford and Wigan, and then Sheffield Wednesday to end in today's episode. So let's get to Oxford, and I'll see you there. So we did play Oxford, and we scraped past them 1-0. An own goal in the 84th minute. Another disappointing performance, but we've got the 3 points. So Inter Milan have come back and offered for 13.5. We'll go back in at 13, meet in the middle, and they've accepted that offer. I would really like to bring this guy in, but he's not interested in joining us once again. He wants to be involved in the Champions League, but considering you're not getting any game time at Inter Milan, I find that highly unlikely to happen. So maybe you might be interested in the summer, but we'll probably have better options by that point. I am going to make sure I've got Dejan Joveljic registered for this game because I didn't have it done last time. So we'll just quickly make sure that's done. So we've just finished the game against Everton in the FA Cup third round. We managed to actually draw 1-1 against Premier League opposition whilst dominating the game. We should have went through into the next round, but now we've got a tricky away tie against Everton to go through. But here, I'm really happy with how we played against Everton, and it shows just the quality that we've got in the squad and how, if we are to get promoted, I think we'll be absolutely fine in the Prem. The next biggest signing of the summer is the new contract for Jack Butland. He will remain at the club until 2024, unless we decide to sell him. But at least he hasn't got the minimum fee release clause anymore. He does have a non-promotion release clause though, so we have to get promoted. Right, well, we've just played the first leg of our League Cup semi-final against Leicester, and unfortunately we fell to a 1-0 defeat. It could have been a lot worse. They missed a penalty in the 33rd minute, and they had a Jamie Vardy goal disallowed in the second half. But I think we held our own in terms of the match stats, and of course we've got the second leg at home to go through yet. The games are coming thick and fast, not too much happening in terms of transfers. I am continuously bidding for Josh Timon, upping my bid slightly every time to see if I can unsettle him. I've been on the lookout for a centre-back and right midfielder in particular. Nobody's really catching my eye. Obviously, with us not being promoted yet, a lot of the players that would be interested in joining the club when we're in the Premier League are not currently interested. So it might be worth me hanging on to the majority of our money. But I kind of really want to sign Josh Timon. You know, having now 2 young English fullbacks all playing for us at the same time. Especially for the second half of this season, I would quite like that a lot. But in terms of the game today, Izquierdo got himself a start and got himself a hat-trick, putting us 4-0 in front, with Alex Martinez getting the other goal. A complete domination of Brentford and another win on the board. However, then, come and join me. We currently play Everton. It is 1-1 after extra time. So we're just going to let the fates decide our penalties. I currently don't have the highlights on. It's going to fly through. It looks like we are definitely in the lead and we are through to the next round in the FA Cup. Joveljic put us in front inside 9 minutes. Antonio Candreva equalised in the 87th minute. I couldn't believe it, especially considering as we dominated Everton, absolutely dominated them. We were by far the better side. But we took it to penalties and we stood up. Joveljic actually missed his, which is a bit concerning, but they missed a couple as well. So we're through to the FA Cup 4th round. Well, the games keep on coming, and unfortunately we've just drew 0-0 with Wigan. It was a heavily rotated side, purely down to the lack of conditioning on some of our boys after playing Everton for the second time this month. So we did rest a few players. We are now down to 14 points clear, this time of Southampton, who've overtaken Stoke City once again, who got beat off Preston this week, which is absolutely fantastic. But Southampton must have won against Millwall. There we are. So a little bit of a hiccup, but I don't think it's anything to worry about. And we've just missed out on a League Cup final. Unfortunately, we drew 1-1 in the home leg of the semis against Leicester City. James Maddison put them in front inside 8 minutes. Jayden Bogle equalised in the 52nd. And despite us having the better of the opportunities, unfortunately, we could not make them count. Another game, this time it's a 1-0 away victory against Colchester United. We played them in the FA Cup 4th round. We played quite a strong side as well, and we only just got past them. We've still got a little bit of the January transfer window to go. We are having some offers for some of our players, namely Jack Grealish. Watford seem pretty keen on bringing him in, but I've said if he can get a £20 million bid or so, I'll probably let him leave. But if he's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. So I don't mind keeping him either. He's an English player, he's decent, he plays in a couple of positions. So if he stays, he stays. If he goes, he goes. So this is the final game of today's episode. It was a 2-0 home win against Sheffield Wednesday. Tudor Baluta put us in front inside 15 minutes, and Dejan Joveljic got a goal from the penalty spot in the 50th minute. Joveljic hasn't exactly hit the ground running, but it seems like whatever system this is, the strikers are not the key part of it. It seems to be the wingers, so it's nothing I'm too concerned about right now. I will continue playing him. I'm sure he'll be fantastic in terms of helping with the build-up play and just being a part of the overall machine. So after today's games, we sit 16 points clear from second place Southampton. Southampton and Stoke seem to be the two teams who will be challenging us for the title and for automatic promotion, which leads me to the next episode. Now, it's the next game. It's Stoke City, but I really want to bring you that game. So it is going to be Stoke and Charlton in the next episode, 3rd and 24th. So hopefully a couple of good games for us there. Our form over the January transfer period has been relatively good. Wigan 0-0 was obviously a huge disappointment, but it was a big rotation. I shouldn't have really done it. You know, it was highly unlikely we were going to overturn the 1-0 deficit against Leicester. They have a much better squad than we do, but I did feel if we just went at them with a full strength side, we might have been able to do it. But unfortunately, it wasn't to be this year. But the main positive for me was the performances against Leicester, and particularly the performances against Everton. It proves that I'm not even sure where Everton are in the Premier League. 7th. They are 7th in the Premier League, and we were the better side by a big margin over the two games. We were unfortunate to have to go to penalties to knock Everton out. So I think it speaks to the strength of our squad, even though we are in the Championship. There is still a couple of days left of the January transfer window, but I am going to finish it here. I don't anticipate anything happening, but if anything does, of course, you'll find out in the next episode. Josh Tymon, he hasn't kicked up a fuss at Stoke City, and I'm not too keen on paying £25 million for him. I think I've come to the realisation that January transfer window, whilst you're in the Championship with all this money, I'm just going to get my eyes out for certain players, and better players will become available at more reasonable prices for the money once you're a Premier League side, purely because you've got the higher reputation and more players are interested. So I'm sorry that there's been no major incomings apart from Dejan Joveljic, but we already knew that one was coming. But I think it's the best move financially for us to get the most value for money, particularly as we're dominating the league so much. You know, we're not crying out for that centre half to plug our defence or that striker to get us goals. You know, we're doing more than well enough in this league. So anyway, that's going to be enough from me for today's episode. If you have enjoyed it, please consider leaving a like. And if you are enjoying my content, get yourself subscribed. But until next time, take it easy.